Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Radio Free Urbanism. We are delighted to have you here. I'm feeling pretty good, pretty groovy, pretty grand, and I am delighted to be joined today by two delightful, wonderful, beautiful, handsome, festive co-hosts. First, Ethan Myers, say hi.
It's great to be back, everybody. I love being on the show. Wonderful here to be with my beautiful co-hosts, back for another episode of Radio Free Urbanism.
Oh my God. All it took was us to be apart for just a few weeks to just get all the schmoozing happening. It's amazing.
That's right. That's right.
Guys, this is a year. This is a whole year. Like, we did episode 50, but this is episode 54. Last one was out a year ago, I think, the first episode. This is wild. Yeah. We made it.
And also with us is Nick Laporte. Say hi,
sorry,
Nick.
guys. That's me.
Yeah, it's been a full year. I feel like we're this beautiful family here, and we've got a beautiful family of people in the live chat as well. We've got Skitch, Jen, and Austin, our three regulars in the live chat. If you want to join the live chat, you can go to patreon.com/radiofreeurbanism, and then you get to watch the show live. We never cut anything out, so it's not like you really miss anything.
You get a taste of everything.
You get a taste of everything. You get to be there for the moment. You also get to comment on what we're saying and what we're wearing. Ethan.
That's right. You may have noticed it on my Blue Sky or also on my Instagram, but I got one of these lovely TriMet holiday sweaters. I'll actually stand up for the people so that way they can see the whole thing. But yeah, they just started selling these bad boys this year, and I think it's a great way for an agency to have some great merch out there. I think UTA also just launched theirs as well, and I think Go did as well too. But
I am incredibly jealous, and we will get into transit merch a little bit later on in the show. But first, an update.
Oh, for me?
Yeah, from you.
Oh, I guess we got some. Okay, I just got to say, somebody said in the last episode that we were deflated. Okay, so we're coming out hot. I took some drugs. Starts with a C. Usually enjoy it as a beverage.
What drug starts with a C? Coffee?
Caffeine. Come on.
Caffeine. Okay.
But yeah, last weekend, I guess, just a few days ago, was the end of Taylor Swift Eras Tour. And I'm not here to just talk about Taylor Swift as much as I am to talk about transit. So I didn't go out to go film what was going on. I went out just Friday night. And let me tell you, downtown during the show was dead. Like, I'm talking, it was wild how quiet it was just walking around near the stadium. Obviously, there was people outside, like, listening. You could hear the show going on. People were singing along and dancing, and it was really cool. Energy was fantastic. But, like, as far as traffic goes, it was wild. And after the fact, a post-mortem, businesses came out and are mad at the city for, like, hyping up how bad it would be downtown. Because it seemed like everybody was just like, oh, it's going to be terrible. Let's not go downtown. So it seemed like it was reserved for the people actually going to the show and a few people driving around, which is pretty wild. However, there was, after the fact, obviously this is what's going to happen. There's lots of SkyTrain stations near BC Place where the show was happening. And yeah, it got busy. So here's a photo I'm sharing here. And this is just from, I think, inside the Chinatown station. Huge lineups up the escalator. But there's actually a video from outside, which you can see, which is just, it's huge lines. I'm sure they didn't last too long, right? The SkyTrain was coming at pretty good frequencies, but that's great. It's a great thing to have. You have this option. Obviously, you're going to wait in a little line, but that's just the way it is. So there's 60,000 people who went to this show, right? You're going to have to do a little bit of waiting. But other than that, it was crazy to see how much hate, like, Taylor Swift gets. It's wild. Like, in the Vancouver subreddit, it was just every day during, like, the weekend, there was something being posted about these are reasons why we should hate this person. But you know what? There's a lot of good positivity in those threads as well, being like, guys, chill. It's just people enjoying music. Shut the fuck up. And I liked that because I might have been one of those people.
Yeah, you know what? So I'm going to say I think this is a really important point about, like, people enjoying different things, and this ties really well into urbanism. And something that I think about a lot is you can't build a city for yourself. If I was building a city for myself, I might not include a concert venue, especially not a big one necessarily. That's not an activity that I tend to go to or would particularly enjoy, especially because I'm a podcast editor for work and I, worry about my ears. But other people enjoy that. And I think it's really important that when we live in cities, we organize the city in such a way that, people can enjoy what they enjoy, even if it's not your thing, right?
Absolutely. Don't yuck the yum,
100%.
guys.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. I'm glad the Taylor concert was exciting for a lot of people. Ethan, you got something to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So this weekend, we had a couple of urbanists come out here to visit Portland, Oregon, and one of them happened to be from the Philadelphia area. Now, this person brought along, well, at least had in their wallet, a wonderful SEPTA key card, kind of like this one right here. Now, one thing that you'll notice about this key card is that it has an RFID chip in it. So, the funny thing about this key card is that you can tap it on a lot of different transit agencies and it will essentially register as a one-time trip. And it will work for one time. So, my friend decides to tap it on our wonderful Hop fare card readers just to test it out and make sure to see that, most likely it probably won't work, because it's a different system. Nope. Gave him the 2.5 hour ride ticket right there, right off the SEPTA key card. And it just a funny little thing that happens, with this SEPTA key card, because that's another transit agency added to the long list of agencies that have actually had SEPTA key cards work on them. From the New York subway, or wait, not the New York subway, the Chicago CTA, and then even more interestingly, the London Tube, the Underground. This worked on the Underground to actually scan as a ticket.
That's
so it's
super rad.
Is it like a cash value? How does that work?
So apparently there's something with the RFID where basically when you tap it on there, it basically just kind of scans it as like a one-time thing. So if you tap it on there, it basically registers it. So it'll let you through, but then if you try to go and use it again, it'll say it has a value of $0.00 and you need to load money onto it. But for that first tap, you're pretty much good. It's just a very interesting, goofy, silly thing that happens with the key card. But if we do have a worldly universal card, it might actually be Philadelphia. So
amazing. Okay, I've got a question now. We're talking about this because, some of the best transit systems allow you to use your credit card, right? So what do you think the difference is between having an actual transit pass versus just using your credit card? Do you deserve that discount when you're using the transit card? Because that's what, TransLink does here in Vancouver.
Yeah, you would think that it would be totally valid to actually use the card to actually get discounts, because we don't do that here in Portland. But you can pay with your credit card or debit card on the actual Max Light Rail here. But it would make sense to have some sort of discount, even if it's minimal,
Because it actually encourages people to use it more, I think. Because if they're even saving 10% on your fare, why not? If it gets people to use it more, they end up spending more money on that transit service and getting less people to drive in cars and take other means of getting around, which is pretty cool.
Definitely, and having that
also. Transit cards are pretty cool, right? We all have our collection of transit cards, right? And it's cool to go to a place and collect them. That's kind of a nerdier thing. It's also nice when you can go to a place and just tap on with your credit card. That makes it super, super easy. It's also nice. Vienna had a great app that I talked about last week. These different systems, but the most convenient one is a credit card, because most people have some sort of credit card in their wallet, right? But I don't know. It's interesting, the different fare systems that you see around the world. Ethan, do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite fare system in the U.S.?
In the U.S., it's got to be TAP in Los Angeles. It's easily the cheapest. $1.75 a ride. I think it caps you at $5 for the day. And then it's $15 for the week or something like that. Something ridiculously cheap, but it is very affordable, even if you're just visiting the city.
Yeah.
That's really cheap.
That's super, super cheap. That kind of goes in. Can I talk about my little show and tell I got here?
Sure.
Did I tell you guys about this already? Do you know about my show and tell?
I don't know.
Do you know? Okay, so I saw a friend of mine the other day. He's about 80 years old, and when I saw him, he gave me this envelope that just says Alex on it. And he said, "Here you go. I just got back from my trip. This was my first time seeing him since I was back." And I'm like, "Oh, what's this?" And he says, "Well, you'd mentioned." He's like, "Yeah, I know you like transit, and you had mentioned your interest in like old tickets and fares and stuff." And so he gave me a bunch of old transit tickets. So this one is a 1947 Montreal tramways. I don't know how well that's going to show up on the camera, but yeah, 1947. I have Ottawa Transportation Commission here from 1962. So he grew up in Montreal, and he's lived in Ottawa and Edmonton and Calgary. And so he didn't have any Calgary Transit tickets, but he did have tickets from the other places. So it was pretty cool to see these, just this little bit of history. You've got these ones with like a magnetic stripe on the back, and it's 25 cents to ride the metro in Montreal in 1968. So that's pretty cool. He talked about how transit tickets used to be like this very pocket changey thing. Like, oh yeah, I just have like the fare from my transit sitting around. And because of the way we fund our transit systems changing over the years, how big our transit systems are over the years, and inflation and other pressures, the fares are not like that anymore. And so it was interesting talking to him a little bit about that. But this was like I'm flabbergasted. This is probably the best Christmas gift I've ever gotten. Although everyone else who's ever given me a Christmas gift is probably like, "Are you serious? What about that?" But this is very cool. This is very, very cool. So I'm excited to have this little bit of history. This little bit of a story. Some of these tickets were school tickets specifically for him to get to school as a kid in the 40s. So yeah, very, very exciting. So
that is amazing.
That's
so
amazing.
Cool.
Yeah,
it's kind of a
really
look
cool.
to see inflation too, and see how much the prices have changed. Because what year was that? 25 cents?
Yeah, the 25-cent one was the 1960s, 1968.
68. Okay, I typed it in. So today that would be $2.11.
Wow. Yeah.
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 Wait, you said 1968 for the Montreal Metro?
Yeah.
That's the year that it opened. I'm pretty
Really?
sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, first edition.
First edition.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool.
I love tickets. I love Metro cards. I'm not a big souvenir person. Like when I go traveling, I don't really bring things back with me.
Yeah.
But that's one that I'd like to bring back. And I had this thing happen. This was in the Netherlands when I did my trip last summer. I bought an Nove chip card just so I could use the bike parking in Utrecht. And on my way to Amsterdam, it fell out of my pocket and I lost it. And I was so heartbroken. But I didn't get a new one. But next time, maybe next time.
That is so sad.
I'll grab a
That
new
is
one.
tragic.
I'm a big journal keeper. Like everywhere I go, I bring my journal with me, and I'll write about my trip, and I write about life at home as well. I'm, usually at least monthly, usually weekly, sometimes more. But I'll always, it has like a little pocket in the back, and I'll always put, like, if I go somewhere, I'll put my train ticket or transit pass in there, just as, kind of reference material. Right, as this is where I went. I'll put my museum passes in there as well, because those are such an easy thing to store. Other than that, I don't really collect souvenirs. I have friends who collect magnets and stuff, but I'm just transit tickets, train tickets. That's kind of, it says where I've been, right, and where I've gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it's a nice little piece of history. I think sometimes about maybe framing that or something. But let's hop onto a story. Is this Nick who added this?
I got this one, and
You got this one.
Yeah, this is something that everybody's heard about. If you haven't heard about this, you're living under a rock. I don't know what you're doing here. But yesterday morning, this is not yesterday morning. This is last week. Masked gunman stepped out from behind a car in New York City and fatally shot the CEO of United Healthcare. The shooter then walked away before hopping on an e-bike and riding off into the sunset to make his getaway. But it was the morning. He must have rode for a while. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But the killer's last known means of escape, this is what other news sources focused on, terming the gunman the e-bike assassin, which sounds pretty fucking badass if you ask me. But a lot of people actually thought this was a city bike, an electric city bike, but it was later found out that it was just, I don't know, some e-bike. I don't know what the brand was. I haven't found any information on what it actually... Yeah, Skitch says the ultimate radical bike mafia member. But I think it would have been more on brand if it was a city bike, though it would have been linked to them. Anyway, the guy was caught. Everybody knows what happened here, right? But it really highlights the effectiveness of moving through New York City, one of the biggest cities in the world, is on a bike. It's like amazing how quickly you can move across the city. Like, you look the path that he took from, like, I don't know, it was like mid-Manhattan, like the lower half past Central Park, and in a matter of minutes, like how quickly you can move that through that city on a bike and be relatively untraceable. Obviously they found him, but if it was a car, it would have been a much different story. Yeah. Tell me, you guys, you've heard this story, right?
Oh, definitely.
Of course. Yeah. Of course we've heard about this. I think, like, this is the thing, e-bikes are a total city game changer. Like, it really, really, honestly, is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And Wheezy Waiter recently, and I shared this to our group. I think I did. He recently got on an e-bike and gave it a go and saw, like, this thing is awesome. Like, they're a lot of fun. They're really versatile, and they're convenient. They're really, really convenient. And so, I love e-bikes. Whenever there's like something going on, whenever you're faced with a crisis or, you know, an issue, especially in economics, they talk about like different inputs, right? You can have changes to labor costs. You can have changes to labor ability. You can have changes in technology, right? And e-bikes are one of those changes in technology that I think really have the potential to revolutionize the way that we get around our cities. And also, you know, the knock-on effects of the health of e-bikes, or the human health that e-bikes can give, because it just gives that like little extra bit of exercise. It's also fun, right? Like, it's fun to be on an e-bike. So I'm sold on e-bikes. I think they're great, but that was kind of tangential to the particular story.
No, I mean, come on. This was an opportunity to talk about e-bikes. That's,
you know, untraceable ways to escape committing crimes. That's like the libertarian dream right there. I'm just saying. You're talking about wanting to have, you know, cars being the mode of freedom, choice of freedom. Nah, they've got license plates, everything like that on there. E-bikes, pretty much clean. Nothing you got to do, no registration. I know that there has been talks, especially after some certain incidents, of getting, you know, e-bikes or standard bikes registered with, you know, license plates, but every opportunity we've seen cities try to implement that, it's usually costs more than it has been to implement it, and it usually fails. Yeah. And by usually, I mean it fails every time.
Every time.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Talking about freedom of bikes and e-bikes, like, if I ever had to evacuate the city, I'm evacuating on a bike. I'm not getting stuck in that traffic jam. Are you kidding me? An e-bike, I can go up hills and down hills. I can go through the forest. You know, I can get to where I want to go.
We've got Alex's apocalyptic moving machine here.
Literally. You know, like, I'm not a prepper. I am fascinated by people who are preppers, right? Like, very tangentially, right? I'm always interested by people who have this like huge prepping thing, and they talk about like their bug out bag, right? And it's like their bag that's under their bed that, like, at a moment's notice, if they've got to go. I've met people who have bug out bags, like they've got one under their bed, they've got one like by the front door, they have one in their car, right? Like, and some people have them in other places too, right? Like they'll have like a cache. But yeah, like you just grab it and go. I don't have a bug out bag, but I do have a plan. It's just get on my bike and just ride. Just
go.
Leave. Yeah.
Just go.
Yeah, like bikes are freedom. Bicycles are freedom. And e-bikes just like literally electrify that, right? Like they
Bug Out Bike.
Bug Out Bike.
Bug Out Bike.
Yeah.
It's got
Could
a
you
solar
imagine-
panel, right? Attached to it. You can open up and charge it.
It's
Yeah,
the Bug Out Bike's got to be the crappy bike that you ride home from the bar on or something like that. It's your backup bike that you give to your friends.
No, you got to go like, you picture people who are like in the apocalypse once you've kind of maxed out all your stats and you have like the night vision goggles, when you play like zombie video games, right? You've maxed out your stats, you have the night vision goggles, you have like a big 4x4 truck with like treads. You need the e-bike version of that. We need to like make like the crazy e-bike. Like, Jen in the chat says panniers preloaded with snacks and water because you got to be fancy about it. She specifically mentions Evian water, which I guess is the fancy brand. Certainly not Dasani water. Let me tell you, Dasani is crap.
You mean plastic water?
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
They can't
I
sell
guess
it in
that's
the
all
UK.
bottled water, but
They can't sell Dasani in the UK.
I don't think so. They had it for like a brief moment and then they just stopped. I think
just
Tom
gross.
Scott has a video on it.
It's so bad.
It's awful.
Jen says Dasani is tap water. Evian is mineral water. I drink tap water at home. I'm a tap water guy.
Me too.
Okay, while we're on this, I have to say, the thing that frustrates me most about visiting Europe is that you have to specify that you want still water. Otherwise, like I asked for ginger ale, and then they brought me tonic water, and apparently, I guess they didn't have ginger ale like at most places that I went to. They're kind of like, oh, we don't have that, and then they said they had like this kind of apple soda. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds good. It was good. And then the next place that I went to, they looked at me like I had three eyes when I asked for this apple soda thing. And I described it the way the previous waiter described it to me. And they were like, what? And I was like, ginger ale? And they're like, okay, yeah, we have ginger ale. They brought me tonic water. And I said, oh, no, sorry, I meant ginger ale. And they're like, And then I like wrote it out for them. And I gave it, and then they come back and they're like, yeah, we don't have this. And I said, okay, water is fine then. So then they brought me sparkling water, and I was like, so then I just drank the sparkling water because I felt bad.
€2 too.
I was like, I put all this effort, and I'm like, I just wanted tap water. I should have just gone to the bathroom and stuck my mouth under the tap.
I've just from every story I've heard about drinking water in Europe, it sounds like everyone there is perpetually dehydrated.
They drink water. They like, and people there drink tap water. One of the guy at the hotel, like the concierge, he's like, and might I say, we have the best tap water here in Vienna. And I was like, oh, fantastic. So I drank their tap water, and you know what? Yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good tap water, But then everywhere I went, they're like, "You want tap water? You want, still water?"
Are you sure?
Yeah, it was just very interesting. I had a heck of a time trying to get things to drink.
Yeah.
But I guess I really only drink still water, and I can't believe I have to specify that it's still water.
But okay, I don't know how the fuck we got here, but I need to go back and ask Alex. Like, do you have no bug out gear? Like, I've got a little bit. I keep water in the closet, like a case of water.
Yeah, okay. We've got like we keep like flour and beans and rice and oats and things like that. Like if suddenly I was unable to go to the grocery store, like I could live. I don't want to tell you how many boxes of multigrain Cheerios I have in the cupboard. They were
How many
on
boxes?
sale.
How many boxes, Alex?
I did it.
It's at least 10. I have at least 10 boxes of multigrain Cheerios. It was on sale, and I was like, you know what? It's cheap food. I'm a cheap guy. I'm try to keep a pretty tight budget, live significantly within my means. I was like, yeah, I like multigrain Cheerios. So now I eat multigrain Cheerios for breakfast for the foreseeable future.
That's all great. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll survive on that for a long time.
Ethan, are you a prepper? What's your bug out plan?
No. If the world falls apart, I'm going with it. Just saying.
Really? No, I'm a survivor. I'm hopping on my bike. I got places to go. I'm not going to disclose where I will go.
He's going to Banff.
But yeah, let's say I'm going to Banff. Everybody can
There
think that.
he's going. That's where he's going.
Yeah, I'm going to Banff. Yeah. What's your bug out plan, Nick?
It's probably going to be Ethan's route. Yeah, I'd be like,
Yeah, there
let's
we
just,
go.
You know, get the toaster. I mean, that might not be an option, but, we'll find the easy way. Or we'll figure it out. My wife loves to camp. She loves it. So I was like, we could figure it out, maybe. We could figure it out. We've got all the camping shit.
Yeah, I like camping. I grew up doing tons of camping. I did winter camps and in the mountains. Like, I can survive. I think that's something people are surprised when they hear about me, but
But would
I
you
can do that.
like inadvertently eat like a poisonous mushroom or something? Like, would that happen?
No, I would not, because I'm allergic to mushrooms, for one.
There you go.
So I just would.
He's allergic to all of them. So you don't have to worry about the bad ones.
I just wouldn't risk it. No, I'd eat other things. I'd have to figure that out. I should get some seeds.
You need a flora and fauna book.
Yeah, and then memorize it, because that's a lot of weight to carry on a bike.
It is, actually.
Yeah. Every ounce counts when you're cycling, especially if you're trying to get out of a big city that's fallen apart.
Yeah. Okay.
But
We need to move on. I've got something
Let's
now.
move on. I don't
Let's
think
move
that's going to
on.
happen.
Okay. I usually have problems figuring out what the title should be for these podcasts, but now I have two options. It's going to be either the e-bike assassin or bug out bike. Like, come on.
Let's do bug out bike. We spent way more time on that than
Yeah,
the
we
e-bike
did. We
assassin.
kind of immediately jumped from that to the other one.
It's an interesting topic. It's a very tangential topic. Somebody in the urbanist sphere should make a full video about that. We need an urbanist prepper. That's what that's what this
prepper.
market is missing. So if somebody's listening to this, there's an opening. There's an opening. I will subscribe to you.
I'll tell you what, Alex, I'm going to put in my back burner folder bug out bike as a video maybe in the future.
That'd be rad.
Okay.
That'd be rad. Yeah.
It's done.
We could
Interesting
get
concept.
all the urbanists to talk about their bug out plans. Yeah, let's move on though. Let's get on to another story here. Ethan, talk to us.
Yeah, so this is kind of in the same vein as the last story. Now, obviously, not with talking about the apocalypse or an assassin on a e-bike, but it's talking about public transportation. It's fun little story. Not as much murder involved, but coming soon to the Portland area, the East 82nd Avenue FX buses, which is the frequent express buses that we're running. There's going to be a second version. So currently, Portland's frequent express buses only run on one line, the FX2, which runs for the most part down Division Street, east-west, and then into downtown. However, they want to expand this program. They're going to be adding a north-south running line, mainly on the east side of town, down 82nd Avenue, which is the busiest bus route outside, or actually it's the busiest bus route in the city. So there's a lot of people that ride this bus, and upgrading it is kind of a huge essential thing, from 15-minute frequencies to 10 to 12-minute frequencies with improved bus stations and signal priority. Kind of a no-brainer when it comes to transportation and, getting these systems built. The problem is that it's scheduled to have its completion in 2029. Now, if you think about that, that's 4 years from, or actually that's, just about 4.5 years from now. But it's been in the planning stages already for a couple of years. So this bus system upgrade is going to take 7 years to complete, from its initial planning all the way to completion and implementation of the building part is actually the easiest part of this. The planning and the development design process takes up a vast majority. The construction's only going to take about 18 months to complete. So this project will have spent a majority of its time just being planned out. And we're talking about an already existing route that's mainly just getting an upgrade. Nothing crazy, no new right-of-ways studied, nothing along those lines. It's just planning the existing route to be more frequent. And this really comes back to something that we see a lot in North America, and that's just the fact that it takes so long for our planning and for environmental review and for community input to get through before we even get a single shovel in the ground. And I just wanted to hear your guys' takes, because this is just one example that's here, but I'm sure you guys probably have a million other examples in both Calgary and Vancouver with this.
Boy, do we. Nick, you can go first.
No, you.
No, I insist. I insist.
He's insisting. He's insisting, Nick. You got to go first.
What do I got to talk about?
Talk about things taking forever. Or is Vancouver a paradise?
Yeah, are they building
Is
stuff
Vancouver
there?
perfect?
I don't know. The thing that comes to mind is the Eglinton LRT in Toronto. Honestly,
Yes.
When I talked about this, it's been like 14 years.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. I sent you that video earlier.
I think about it all the time, obviously, because we're talking about this whole Toronto bike lane thing being removed, and the answer is public transit. And it's just taking so long. Like how big Toronto is, the biggest city in Canada, and how shit the transit is there. Like it's brutal. It's terrible how long it takes. Like here in Vancouver, it's been pretty good. Obviously, we've talked about the different systems that people want to build. Like there's that basically imaginary map that they built where you could go all the way to Whistler on a train and expand out the SkyTrain to different places, especially the North Shore. That's long overdue right now. I think they should definitely build another bridge or underneath the ironworkers along the Second Narrows to go to the North Shore to build some SkyTrain extensions there. That would be fantastic, because the only real connection we have right now is the C-Bus, which is great because it goes right from waterfront downtown to like downtown North Vancouver. But like, it's pretty good. Like the extensions that are going down to the lower mainland towards Langley are in the works right now. I recommend Stainer the First on YouTube if you want to like keep in track what's going on with that. I think he recently just posted a video that's blowing up, which is fantastic. But he's got the tabs on what's going on with TransLink. I'm not the best person to ask, but as far as my perspective is that here in Vancouver, they're doing a good job. In Metro Vancouver, yeah.
Well, lucky you, because
Lucky Nick.
everywhere else, I mean, you're talking about these things taking a long time for planning. I've talked about it before, like the Green Line, the original studies, hey, like we should do this project. That might be a good idea. Originally done in the late 80s, right? We're going on 40 years of, at least some tangential work on this project. Planning of it started over a decade ago. Construction started several years ago, and then it's gotten hung up because, well, actually, we want to change the alignment now. And so all of these things, like, we just can't seem to get things done. And it's not even just a government thing. We have this problem with corporations, too. You look at every time a corporation... I won't give a specific example, but I do have a specific example in mind. It's a company that somebody that I know works for, which they merged with another company, and they came up with the shittiest name that was very clearly decided by committee, right? Like we aren't making decisions. We're just getting together and saying, well, what's going to be the least offensive thing? What's going to be like the softest thing that we can come up with that like... It's not going to be special, but nobody will disagree with it. It's not going to really do anything very well, but like it won't be bad, right? Like what can we do? That's how you end up with things like Stroads. Okay, well, we want a road that will get us places, but also has places. And you end up with a Stroad, which is more dangerous. Austin in the chat says Canadian Pacific Kansas City isn't that bad. I was not talking about CPKC, by the way. I don't have any qualms with them just kind of mashing the two names together. I was thinking of a different company. I'll tell you offline, Austin. But I just don't want to publicly disparage anybody or get anyone in trouble. But yeah, like we have a problem making decisions, right? We have a problem just looking at something and saying like, hey, when we build new communities, obviously there's a lot of effort that goes into it, right? The community planner, the developer puts a lot of thought into, well, here's going to be the road, here's going to be this. But like it gets done, right? Like we actually end up building those roads when we build these communities. And then when we want to build transit connections in those communities, we're like, I don't know. Like, should we do it this way? Should we do it that way? And then we do 2 years of engagement, and everybody says, well, I want it here, I want it here, I want it here. And then it's just confirmed what the transit planners already kind of are looking at the data that they're already looking at, because they're looking at where transit riders might be. And then the transit riders come out and say, yeah, I am there. Thanks. Right? And so we spend all of this time, and it just takes forever to get built. The Eglinton Crosstown is a great example of this. One of the comments that I found on Reddit that somebody says, Face in the Blue is their username, which I like. They say, Canada fought 2 world wars in less time than this project has been underway, putting 10% of our entire population into uniform and sending them to Europe both times. The United States went from Kennedy's Rice University speech to the end of the Apollo program in less time. I'm not even going to look up how many subway lines China has opened in the last 13 years. And that's the thing, right? Like, I believe Calgary is the best city on planet Earth, but we're being shown up. And it's kind of embarrassing. I believe Canada is the best country on planet Earth, and we're being shown up, and it is super embarrassing. And so I think we actually need to start building shit. So that's my rant. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I'm just so frustrated by how long these projects take. Right? We talk about it with the high-speed rail to Edmonton. People say, yeah, that's a no-brainer. We've been talking about that for decades. Why don't we do it? Why don't we do something about it? If you go out in public and everybody's kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. And then you're just like, yeah, we won't do anything about that though.
We'll give it a study. That's the best we can do.
Let's do another study.
We'll check back in a year.
Yeah, we want to see.
$2 million to a private research firm. They'll come back to us with the results in 2 years.
Right,
and then
exactly.
we can base everything off that one firm's research.
Yeah, you're gonna pay a consultant firm millions and millions of dollars to tell us something that we already know. You're gonna pay them millions and millions of dollars instead of just looking back at the previous 10 studies that we did for this project,
Alex,
that said this is something that we should do.
They know how to make a really, really good PowerPoint in Canva. So I don't know what to tell you about that one. Can you do that?
Actually,
exactly.
It's like here's kind of an example. I have a blood disorder, and I know this. It's on my records, and but anytime, like, if I get like health insurance or anything like that, sometimes they'll be like, well, we want to double check. And then they'll want to take more blood just to double check that this is the case. It's like, guys, the work's already been done. We already know this information, right? And I can get, like, from a due diligence perspective, like, I can appreciate that. But on a transit project, when a government's done 100 different studies on something already, and then they come out and confirm, they're like, oh, our population's doubled. Do you think that we still need that train? Yeah, maybe we need it even more now.
Honestly, like that happens all the time. There'll be a study, right? Then we'll talk about it for like years. Like, okay, let's do it. And like, oh, we got to make a study. It's been a couple years since that one was done. It's like, guys, just fucking.
Clearly, the environmental impacts of this project are going to outweigh everything, and we have to redo the environmental study.
Yeah.
Also, we're required by law to do it. So.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. It's truly embarrassing how we just can't seem to get anything done. Anything built. This estimated timeline is 7 years when it's upgrades to an existing right-of-way.
And it's like, it's needed, this is needed, but the construction itself is only going to take 1.5 years.
Yeah. But we're gonna spend 5+ years talking about it beforehand.
That's the way she goes.
That's frustrating.
That's the way she goes.
I'm gonna cry.
For signal priority, bus lanes, and improved shelters.
So what I got from this whole conversation is that Alex thinks that we should live in a communist state like China and just build stuff.
Oh my God,
true.
no.
Alex supports
No. So many million times no. I just think like I don't understand why we have an aversion to getting things done. Right? Like, why we let things grind to a halt in a bureaucracy when we have people with innovative, great ideas, right? And when we already know, like, what needs to be done,
right? The English legal system.
Yeah, I guess that's the English legal system and bureaucracy, a whole ton of bureaucracy. Yeah, we can do so much better. We can do so much better. Yeah, thanks for listening to my rant. I feel like I took over that one. I'm just so
Alex has been taking over the whole show today.
frustrated.
Tell us how you really feel, Alex.
Yeah, tell it.
I feel a lot of things, and I'm very frustrated that we just sit on our hands, you know. And I have things to say about it's the same as the housing crisis, right? Like we talk about being in a housing crisis, and then we don't do anything about it. We don't act like we're in a crisis, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know.
And that's how we are acting towards so many problems we're dealing with right now in the world. It is mind blowing.
We got time.
It's always the answer, right? Oh, it's next generation can deal
We'll
with it.
we'll take a study of it and hand that off.
Yeah.
Here, 1 second. I have something to show you guys. Riff for a second.
like this, like obviously there's a lot of people working against this stuff. Like we talk about climate change, and not even climate change, but just like pollution, which is like a wild thing to talk about. Like this is something
I work for an oil company, Nick, and I need to tell you right now that guess what? It's happening, but we cannot control it.
There's nothing we can do.
Better we just keep drilling because ain't no better solution.
Yeah, it's just crazy that like nobody's willing to make the tiny changes. And this is something I was going to talk about earlier. Is there was a poster put up of Taylor Swift in downtown, like all over the place. I actually saw this myself too. This isn't my picture though. But where is it here? And it's a picture of Taylor Swift, like weird looking face on a pink plane, and it's farting out exhaust, and it has like the friendship bracelet, but instead it says Taylor shits CO2 emissions. And this was on Reddit that I saw this, and this is one of those posts that was, you know, shitting all over Taylor Swift. And I thought it was a good conversation to have, talk about this. But a lot of people nobody was addressing the fact it's like, yeah, this is why we should change the fucking system so that they don't do this. Like they don't even have the options. And it's not even talking about the things that someone like Taylor Swift does, like those carbon, what are they called? Carbon credit shit that you buy. I don't know what the hell those are. I don't even know if they're good or what.
They're kind of meaningless, to be honest. It's just trading off regulations.
Right. I don't even know where I was going with this whole thought process, waiting for Alex to show us what he's got, his show and tell.
Yeah. Okay. I have another show and tell. I have more things to say. So this is a book. It's called All Our Sisters: Stories of Homeless Women in Canada. This was written by someone who I would consider her a friend. We've had coffee, and I enjoy her company and conversation. But I'm going to read you this first paragraph of chapter 1. It says, "Forests of trees are felled, and prodigious numbers of civil servant hours are consumed producing numerous reports complete with pie charts, diagrams, and promises explaining why so many women and children are homeless. These reports, at all levels of government, show what is common knowledge. There are increasing numbers of men, women, and children living on the streets in Canada, and the reports all come to the same conclusion. There is not enough affordable housing, or wages simply are not high enough for people to rent the housing that exists. This is the same beast looked at from different angles. The gap between income and the cost of accommodation means that inevitably some Canadians will be homeless. And yet no one lifts a significant finger or spends a substantial dime to alleviate the situation. The root causes are ignored, while temporary solutions, for instance, shelters or houses for the fortunate few built by groups like Habitat for Humanity, are sought, and piecemeal social assistance takes the place of coherent, overarching policy. In the 1970s, Canada had an internationally recognized housing program, but over the last 20 years, it has declined into a situation described as an area of shared neglect, because so many levels of and departments of governments have backed away from it. That describes pretty well our current situation, right? There's all these reports. We all kind of, we know that there's a housing crisis. We know that there's a problem. Guess when this book was originally published?
1982.
Well,
1996.
no, 2007. Originally published in 2007. This is getting to be 20 years old. And we still have the exact same problem. What have we been doing? Right? We're talking about the housing crisis now because people that look like us, white guys who are middle class,
white guys,
who live pretty comfortable lives, who know how the system works and who have voices on social media, right? Because we are starting to encounter the impact of the housing crisis. But this has been going on for decades and decades, right? This is something that people have been experiencing for decades. And in this particular instance, Susan talks about women who experience homelessness and the different forms that takes in their stories. And we're still just talking about it. And we're still just saying like, well, I don't really know if it'd be okay if my neighbor put a backyard suite in. I don't know about that. I don't like that. More people in my space. My neighbors, who, by the way, are a couple with no children living at home. So if they got a backyard suite, it'd be like they just added one kid to the family. This is what we're talking about. This is what we're distilling our conversation around the housing crisis to. Is like, well, I don't really know if I like that. Most people don't have the luxury of deciding what their own home looks like, let alone what their neighbor's home look like. But we're talking like we should have power over what our neighbor's house looks like, right? We've talked on the show before about okay, I don't want to live next to a high rise. I live in a single detached home. I don't, I think it'd be ideal to not have, a tower next to my house, right? But there are places in our city that should have towers that do not. There are places in our city that should have 5/1s and do not. There are places in our city that should have grocery stores and do not, right? You look around, you walk around your city, especially, and sorry, Ethan, the United States is way worse off than Canada is as far as access to groceries and
in terms
basic
of sprawl?
amenities.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we just act like there's not a problem. And we act like it's fine. We have 3 major expenses on each of our budgets. We have food, housing, and transportation. Urbanism doesn't involve food too much. I do think community gardens is something that we could talk more about. But housing and transportation, those are major, major issues that we talk about. But we act like, no, you should get around by car. And no, we should not build more housing. And if we do, we should build on the edges where we're increasing the cost of transportation for the people who live there. What are we doing?
Yeah. It is
like
crazy.
we're not taking this crisis seriously. We're not even pretending to take it seriously. Because you watch city council meetings, they're kind of like, well, I don't know. I don't know how this reflects. I don't really like the pitch of the roof. I don't really like this design. We can talk about shitty design till we're blue in the face. I hate bad architecture, right? I hate it when something just looks bad. But that's also largely a subjective thing. And the bottom line is, people need homes. If I'm looking for a house and I'm struggling to find a house, I'm not going to cry about the pitch of the roof. I'm not going to cry that the siding is blue instead of red like I would have liked it. That's not my problem. My problem is I don't have a fucking roof over my head. That's the issue, and we're pretending like it's not. Because we're the ones with the voice. We're the ones that are talking about this problem, right? This is an actual crisis.
Can I get a rump? This guy dropped an F-bomb on
Yeah.
the show, I think, for the first time ever.
I don't know if that was my first time. I probably dropped it in less appropriate.
That was awesome. Oh my God. No, you're totally right. Like this is the thing we're talking about all the time, right? This is a much deep-seated issue, right? Housing. It's so huge. It's systemic. It's crazy. But this is something we talk about when it comes to road safety. Like just here in Vancouver a couple days ago, another cyclist was killed. Guess where it happened? In a place along a stretch of road on Kingsway in East Vancouver, where every single year, 25 people are injured or killed every year, and they've done nothing to change it. There's been 120 something people injured or killed on that stretch in the past 5 years.
That's
They've
once
they've
every
changed
2
nothing.
weeks.
There's no addressing the root causes. It's bullshit.
Yeah. And the worst part is we know how to fix it.
Yeah.
Like it's not like the solution is a mystery. Oh my goodness, there are people without homes. We should probably build homes. That that's probably a decent start, right? Oh my goodness, there are people being killed on the roads. Okay, well we know how to fix that. You can do that with traffic calming. You can build bike lanes. You can make more walkability into your neighborhood. You can allow people to open up small businesses around the neighborhood instead of restricting it to specific areas where the lease is too expensive, right? Like, we have solutions to these problems. But every single time, all we get is just oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry this happened. It's a terrible tragedy. It's not a fucking tragedy. Because we know how we could have fixed it in the first place, right? We chose to build our road that way.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
There are no accidents.
Yeah. There are no accidents.
And
we know what we're doing.
Yeah, the housing situation is not an accident either. It's
No.
driven by profit. It's driven by relying on our system to make money for us. Like it's about financial stability that we has to line go up, right? It has to keep going up or else everything's going to break down. We've put all of our stock
Everybody
into
can be
one
homeless,
basket.
but my God, if my line keeps going up on my house, I'll be happy.
Yeah. It's too bad. It is too bad.
It is. And there's something that we can do about it. I encourage everybody listening to show up to city council meetings. Like, honestly, like, make it your hobby. It's got to be your hobby if you're going to get involved, and you're not retired and have, like, free time. If you're at work, if you're doing school, you got to end up just making it your hobby. Show up to city council meetings. Put some effort into it. Find some local advocacy organizations. Find ways that you can participate. If you have the means, the know-how, the space, the energy to build a backyard suite, do that. See if there's some incentives in your area. Some municipalities, some local governments will offer incentives to participate. That we're in a housing crisis and we need to start taking it seriously. Because for the past, 30, 50 years, we have not been. And it's embarrassing. It's incredibly embarrassing. But let's get on to some listener mail.
Let's do it.
Why don't we? Ethan, take us away.
Let's do it. All right, this first piece of listener mail comes from Skitch over here in the chat. And she said, which transit agency has your favorite merchandise?
Well, I think we know Ethan's answer.
Yeah.
It's actually not TriMet. This is a good piece of merchandise, but they're kind of limited in their options of what they have. I'm going to go with Metro LA. I think that they have a really, really good option of items that you can get from them. And probably got my favorite. It's a giant LA Metro map blanket. And it's already out of date because they're building transit there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nick, do you have a favorite?
Like, come on, guys. You guys know me. I'm not like the transit guy, but I just have to say transit because it's my local one. And they recently had a pop-up sale for a bunch of cool stuff, including like a holiday pullover, a toque, a scarf, and a bunch of like miniature trains and buses and stuff like that. I think that's pretty cool. The mug, I might have to get one of those. I love mugs. I'm a big fan of mugs. Here's one. I have... this one's always on my desk. I'm sure any gaming nerds know exactly what that is. Anybody in the chat, if you know, you're a real one. Aperture Laboratories. Anyway, how about you, Alex?
Well, so I have one transit merch, and it's like this little folding O train from Ottawa. I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of the O train, so I don't want to say that. That OC Transpo is my favorite transit merch company, but that's the only one I have. So I kind of have a hard time with that. I really wish Calgary Transit had some merch with their retro logo on it. That would have been nice. I'd sport that everywhere I went, but alas, we do not, and so I may have to abstain from this question, which breaks my heart. But the next question, the next question from Jen, friend of the show. She says, if your local transit agency doesn't already sell merch, which, by the way, she shared this after seeing Skitch's question because it ties in pretty well here. If it doesn't already sell merch, what kind would you like them to sell? Hat, water bottle, Christmas sweater, something else? And let's get some answers in the chat here too. I want to hear what you guys think.
This question's clearly directed right at Alex at the moment.
Yeah.
This is really directed right at me. I like the Christmas sweater. I look at Ethan's Christmas sweater and I'm incredibly jealous, actually. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Ethan looks incredibly handsome with that.
Thank you,
Christmas
Alex.
sweater. You're welcome. You're welcome. And also, I think something festive, fun like that's nice. Oh, wait a second. Austin mentioned I want a Calgary Transit or Green Line toque. That'd be rad. Skitch says I'd love a Valley Metro shirt, blanket, or towel or mug. Jen says a Loungefly backpack that looks like a sea train would be fun. I like this. What is a Loungefly backpack?
I have no clue, but we can look that up.
Does somebody
on the
know?
Google.
Yeah, look that up
Backpack.
because I just realized that I do actually have some transit merch.
Sounds interesting.
It's like one of those small little backpacks.
If I wanted TransLink to sell something else, which would be to release the keychain cards.
Oh,
so
yes,
that, you
those
can
are.
tap in with like the little SkyTrain or bus.
Those are super
keychain.
cute.
I like
They
that.
are.
Yeah. I do actually have merch. It's green line LRT tote bag, so I do have something.
It's the saddest merch.
It really, it's kind of
It's the most the transit merch you have is like the most backhanded transit merch possible.
I know. Well, you know what? We are getting some designs soon. We're expected to see the plans of the new C train alignment downtown. These are super cute. These little character bags. Ooh, yes, Jen. I would love to see
I see the vision.
a C train version of one of these bags. That'd be
fun.
super cute. Yeah, that would be awesome. All right, you sold me, Nick. Nick, you said the keychain. Ethan, what did you say?
I'm a big user of coasters in my house, so I would love a little Max coaster. Just have the little network map there. Just put my drink on it,
I like that. All right, last listener mail, Nick.
Yeah, by the way, if you want to send us a message, it's radiofreeurbanism@gmail.com if you have a question or comment for the show. But this is from YouTube, Cody Littlefield 7885, and this is in reference to the podcast I had with Patrick from Oh the Urbanity, and they had released a video of Saint Denis in Montreal, just 30 minutes of like basically almost raw footage of just bikes and cars going by and counting each lane. And Cody says, we need this corridor rush hour videos for Bloor, Young, and University in Toronto stat. And I'm like, yes, I've been thinking about this for a while. And this is something I haven't seen yet because this is exactly what I was looking for when I made my video talking about what if we got rid of bike lanes. And I would love to see that because I've seen just one video of somebody taking from their apartment, Bloor, with all the cars backed up. And you saw a few bikes going by. But, it's a whole discussion about why those cars are backed up and why bikes aren't. Because they don't have traffic jams. There's no traffic for bikes. Come on, guys.
Actually, I was in a traffic jam once on a bike.
It can happen, but
it took like 20 seconds and then, it cleared up. There were some kids up at the front who were slowing us down, and it was on like one of the busiest routes in the city. So, it happens.
It can happen, but like...
It can happen, but
it's not like you're stuck there for hours moving inches at a time.
No. And it was a beautiful day, so I wasn't too worried about it. That would be awesome. That'd be super cool. You gonna make some, Nick?
I'm not in Toronto, but if and when these lanes get removed, I might have to fly there just to I don't know. I'm gonna go to Ontario in June for sure. So we'll see what happens between now and then.
Got to stand in front of the machines when they're trying to remove the bike lanes.
Yes.
Simple.
Yeah.
The one time you're allowed to sit in the bike lane.
It's a very classic protest. That's like from the movies. That's standing in a tree or whatever. Okay, cool. Well, is that it? Was that Was that the show?
That's the show, guys.
That's the show.
That is the show.
Oh my goodness. Well, I really hope everyone enjoyed it. Nick has one last thing. We'll give Nick a rant. I ranted at least 12 times today. We'll give Nick something.
Oh, I've got a rant for post-show backroom stuff that was meant for that. But I've just got to say, my latest video is out. Seattle cycling is good, actually. It's on my Patreon right now for free, ad-free. You don't have to be a paid member to watch it there. Or you can watch it on YouTube, which it should be out later today or tomorrow morning.
Nice.
Ooh, exciting.
With ads. It will have ads, including an integrated one. So go to my Patreon if you don't want the ads.
Nice. That's beautiful. Yeah. All right. Well, Ethan, do you want to wrap us up?
Absolutely. I will wrap us up. Folks, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. It's been really great, especially with our live chat who can join through our Patreon for just $1 for the entire month. You get access to that live chat, the live show, and you get access to the show as soon as it comes out if you can't make it to the live chat. So no having to wait for Thursday. You can watch it on Wednesday.
And
anyways,
you also get access to our Discord server.
That is correct, Alex.
We haven't advertised that enough, but the Discord server is actually pretty fun.
It's pretty chill.
Pretty small group, so we actually get to chat throughout the week about different articles that we find and things that we're talking about. And a lot of the time, that's where some of our articles come from.
Yeah, no, it's a really great
Discord.
place, definitely. Our patrons absolutely help us out, not just with their financial support, but also with their recommendations, especially with that live chat in the show. But if you want to become one, just $1 a month. Anyways, Alex, where can the good people find you?
The good people, and I'll say I don't believe there are many bad people, but the bad people can also find me at these places. Humane Cities on YouTube and Instagram. You can also find me at Alex Williams YYC on Instagram, Threads, X, Blue Sky, YouTube. That's particularly if you want to follow my election campaign, because I am running for city council in 2025. The election isn't till October, so it's going to be a long ride, and I'm excited to have everybody along for that. Nick, where can we find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky, YouTube, and Instagram at Nick the Door. So at this point, I think it's time for Ethan to take it away.
That's true. Also, just before we roll out of here, Austin did give us his little promotion of the Discord by saying, from someone that doesn't particularly like Discord, it is a good place.
High praise.
Now, high praise from Austin right there. But, folks, you can find me on pretty much every platform at Climate and Transit. I'm on Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok for the time being, and YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning into this show, everyone. And as always, train good, car bad.
Two wheels good.
And feet first.